Modeling over 40. I don't know whether to call it modeling or is it something else. You and I, we talk a lot, and you and I, even under the same roof, sometimes we speak about modeling and other things that I like to translate as just women having fun. Why don't you describe to me, first of all, introduce yourself.
Velma.
And who are you to me?
Your boss.
I like that. Or do I? You guys tell me. My name is Chuck Coleman, King of Steam, Steampunk Chuck. And today's topic, the world has changed. There's change all over the place. And one thing that I'm recognizing is that I put on a lot of women's retreats, and I hear a lot of conflicting stories from woman to woman to woman, from photographer to photographer. One thing that I'm learning is that no one is really looking at, exactly what's going on. And I don't like to use these words, but it's almost that fake it till you make it, attitude. I am a model and you're going to treat me like a model, but really not understanding what the word model is. Now I'm going to just explain a little bit later on after I give, the boss the platform, but explain to the world where you came from and where you are today and the difference between those two worlds.
Okay. I came from...
Cut. And uncut. It's not a word, but...
I came from being an opioid addict for probably almost 20 years. When I came to you, I've been clean for 4 years and my life is very different now. Let's not concentrate too big of a story of like my opioid addiction, how it was. We can do that in a separate video about it.
But just the two different worlds between, the Ford modeling agency and what you're doing now.
Okay, so I'm 41 years old. I started modeling around 20 years old. I had my son when I was 19. Well, actually earlier. When I was 18, I started modeling. I had my son at 19, and I went back to it at 19 years old. I'm 41 now, and I just got clean 4.5 years ago from being an opioid addict for almost 20 years through my whole modeling career. In the beginning of my modeling career, I have worked with many different agencies, and most of you probably know Ford Models. That's one of the top agencies in the world, and I have worked with him, and I have gotten gigs that pay a few $1,000s per gig, but these gigs came a couple times a year, and there were plenty of gigs where you made, you took home maybe $60 after working all day. So that's really, I don't know, you want to call it modeling? Yes, it's you're making money at your profession.
Let me ask you a question. Explain the life of an agency from when you knocked on that front door, when you walked inside that agency. For those who have not been there, try to paint the best picture that you can of what that environment looks like. The number of people in there, what they brought to you, the work that you had to do in that agency, how much money you made, the percentages and all that stuff. Kind of help them understand from your perspective because they haven't been there.
So for example, I'm not a very good storyteller, not as good as you, so I'll give a scenario, for example, that I've been through, or two scenarios. So for example, I started modeling and I was signed with an agency, not Ford, one of the smaller agencies in Chicago, and they call you up to go to a casting. Casting call looks like this. You drive, you put in the, you go, you need to figure out where to park your car. I lived in Chicago, so that was very, very difficult. Sometimes it costs you $100 just to park your car to go to a casting call. You walk into a casting call, there's about 20, 30 people just for that specific time frame. For, let's say, you're supposed to be there 2 to 3, there's about 30 people there. As you're walking out, more people coming in. So it's hundreds of people circulate throughout the day through that casting call. The person who gets called back to who got casted. So the client would call an agency back, and the agency would only call the person who got the gig. So out of hundreds of people that went there, let's say they're looking for 1 or 5 people, these are the only people who would get a call back. The rest of them, you dream and you don't even know if, when it's gonna happen. Maybe they're still gonna pick me. So you go from casting call to casting call. Let's say you get a paid gig, right? You fill out the voucher with the client at the end of your modeling workday, and then you send that voucher into the agency.
What is on that voucher?
On that voucher, it has your information, the working hours, how many hours you worked, the client name, what type of gig it was, what kind of agency you came from. The vouchers are specifically designed from that agency. So it's, that's how you get paid. If you don't fill out the voucher, you're not going to get paid. So you have to be agency signed to get that specific gig, for example. And so you send in the voucher, and then the agency have to deposit the money after they get from client to their bank account. It has to clear. Then they take off their percentage, whatever it is. 20, 30% some agencies take, and then you get your cut 2, 3, 4 months down the road sometimes. And you just keep going from casting to casting. I was lucky enough where I had a mother who was very supportive, and she was able to take me around, not because we had the money or she could afford it, but because she really believed in what I was doing. So she spent the money. I spent the money. I paid photographers I wanted to work with to get my name and my face out there. And that way I was...
Wait a minute. You paid photographers back then? And
Absolutely. That's why I don't understand. I mean, I come from modeling back in those days, 20 years ago or so, and it was unheard of, the trade for. I mean, there was nothing like that happening. You wanted to work with a photographer, you paid a photographer. I didn't understand that it would work any other way. So, but I don't know if it's an American thing or if it's an industry thing, because I have been living here for over 20 years, so I don't know how it really works now in Europe. I don't have that much knowledge about it, but I just...
Here's my understanding. I've been in the business for 37 years. I was in the business before you were born. And what I'm seeing is there's 2 different worlds. There is the commercial agency world, and then the people trying to get there.
And what they believe
they're
is
trying
gonna
to
happen
and
when
they're
they
trying
get
to
there.
get there, but they have no information. And this is why I want to have this conversation with you, because the people who are trying to get there, they really don't have any information of someone who's already been there. So I feel that it is very important for me to get in, for us to be able to explain what it is on the inside. And not everyone is going to want to hear you, I believe, because to me, this is a very psychological game.
It's a very deep issue, and a lot of people don't want to look at that issue. They want to be like, it's uncomfortable to think really how much work goes into becoming a model. It's very uncomfortable to have that realization of what it really takes to get there, because you give them suggestions and they don't take them.
Let's talk about this one. That uncomfortable feeling to be a model. This is where you and I sometimes bump heads, because I don't like the word or the term or the, model. I don't like that one.
I get it. And you work with mature women. I get it. And if I wasn't modeling prior to coming into your world, I would be fine. If I was just a woman, I would be okay. And I do believe that. I do push it as that. But for me, personally, my brand, I believe, is I'm still able to model and make money in my 40s. That's what my brand is. So, but I'm not saying that our brand should be that. I came into your world, so I'm not changing your brand and what you have been doing for 37
My buddy.
years, as you say. You're gonna make me cry now. But no, I forgot.
I do that well.
It's so often.
Here's the deal. But that's that world, and I love that world because you can give insight to those who are trying to get there. Because every little girl has that dream. She's putting on her mother's shoes as a young child, and she's looking at all these pageants and Miss America and.
Sorry, it's going in your neck. I think it's gonna affect how it's getting choked up. Let me put it up facing the other way.
Okay. These women, they grow up with all these dreams of where they want to go, and then the agency, all the memos that these women get, at 24, you're done. At 25, 26, 27, and above, you are too old. Now, I come from a very old school. And they basically said the reason that they want women at 24 because they're still moldable. They don't know where they're going. When a woman gets 26, she's becoming married and she is no longer controllable at that point because her kids, her family, and that drive to move forward overpowers what these agencies demand from these women. So these agencies demand a certain freedom to be able to jump up, leave, go to these, casting calls, have their mother or
Because they
somebody.
don't have businesses yet. They're not CEOs
Exactly.
of companies yet.
That is correct. So these women,
freedom.
at 24, they're able to go to work. So that hard cutoff at 24 years of age to get really way up there in the professional stuff and getting the paid gigs and stuff like that, you have to be pretty, but also available. You have to be available because these agencies are spending a lot of money and a lot of many years building these relationships with these companies that they've formed these relationships. So they send these girls out to these companies. That took a lot of work and a lot of money and effort to get there. They can't be, okay, my dog is sick, my kid is in the daycare. Those are family issues, so they cut it off at 24. That is what I've learned throughout the years. So then let's get to my side. I'm a photographer, and I've been around. I've done a lot of things.
I'm so sorry. Can
Sure.
I jump in
Sure,
for a second?
absolutely.
I think another reason for that is because, and it's true, to be able to work with an agency in a more successful way, not saying you can work with an agency at 40, 50, or 60, or even more, but to be able to get gigs like that and be sent there, you have to be in the 24. And the reason for that, in my opinion, or another reason, is because agencies cannot really pay a lot to a photographer who shoots their models. So if you're using a photographer who is not that good or familiar with the industry, that means he cannot edit that well. That means if they're working with a 40-year-old woman and the photographer shoots that woman who cannot really edit the flaws of the woman that's 40 years old for a magazine cover, let's say, you get the picture?
I get it because that's my world.
Right.
That's my world. So what I do is, I take that 40-year-old woman, that 50-year-old woman that still wants to feel beautiful. She's going to the gym. She's got her Botox and all that stuff working for her. She gets whistled at by the young men just as much as, the younger women do. But she's in a different situation because she's raised kids. She has a husband at home. She has other responsibilities at home. And for her to go out and pretend to be a model in this young world, she faces a lot of mental stress to go through that if she's at home with her husband. The husband, what are you doing? Why are you spending all you going where? You going to Tahiti? You going to do this? Why? Because, most women say, because I still feel young and beautiful. So my perspective is that I don't want you to be a model. I just want you to come in and have a good time. And possibly, do this just to build yourself up. So whenever I use the word model, it puts an automatic competition into it. Who's going to be the best? And for me, my outcome is exactly what you went through in my world. The outcome is that you had issues back in the past, and now you are, the boss lady. You're running things now. You have a clothing line. You have other things where you are already at a point where models are trying to get to. They're trying to get to your clothing line.
And that was your initial question in this very interview. Tell me between the two different worlds. So I guess we perfectly filled in those blanks together because that is the difference.
My buddy.
My partner.
Yes. It's not always easy for us. We look like the couple that is always, the power couple we are. We're two very strong-minded individuals. We both believe in our directions. And I think when the dust settles, we always end up at a higher place every time.
Always.
Always, always. So, with that said, I think that's kind of I won't say a miracle because I don't believe in miracles, but I think that I think that's something that is not very common for two, because we spend 24/7 together for 4.5 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for 4.5 years. So basically, what we have is.
And I love you more than ever.
Hey, let's settle down. This is keep it rated G. Okay. All right. Here's my thing. We have two different worlds that we live in, that we present, and people try to lump us into one category. Our main thing is trying to make people happy. I don't care if they have the grandmother title or they want the model title. One direction is where I want to go, is to make them live out those dreams. If you want to be a model and you're starting out, we can help you because we have the experience from, you've already been through all that. And, we have not only myself, my business plan has a lot of other great photographers that we tutor in this program as well. So we have two different categories. So there's a lot of women that take a look at us and maybe want to do it, but I really want them to understand that we're just here to help you fill your dreams. If you just want to come out for a weekend every 6 months, every month or something like this, you can do that. And it has nothing to do with modeling. It has everything to do with all the beautiful gowns and the pretty things that we bring in, and, bring you some food and some sushi. You guys go out in these exotic locations and look like a princess and have everybody just go goo-goo over what you've done.
And
or
if you're a model,
if you
want to brand yourself or expand your portfolio, or I'm not going to say better your portfolio, because we're not competing with the rest of photographers out there. We do something so different. Most photographers, they come in, they shoot, they leave. You bring your own clothes, they leave. We put a package together for people. So it doesn't matter. It's for women. All women, any ages, whatever your direction is, we got you.
My pet peeve. Somebody calls me up. Let me turn this off. This is going crazy. My phone is going crazy. Okay. One of my pet peeves. Where are you located, and when are you coming to my town? We're on the road 320 days a year. Right now, not so much because of COVID, but, we're never, anywhere that for a long period of time. If you want something, you got to go get it.
Absolutely.
And most models or most women, they're so accustomed. I got to say this. Self-esteem. Most women are waiting. I don't know who passed this memo out, but who calls who first, who contacts who first, dictates who pays.
Gets paid, yeah. The model says, since you reached out to me, Chuck, that means you're interested in me. That means you need to pay me. It doesn't matter how good of advice you have or solution for their problem. None of that matters. Even if they have the biggest problem and you have a solution for the biggest problem, they don't get it. They will not pay you because you reached out to them.
I don't know what this word "reach out to them." If I believe it is,
you're ruining their chances. That's
what I do is
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I will send something. I will send someone a message. I will send someone an image that I've done. Here's my intent. I'm expecting to look at that image and say, oh my God, I have never ever had something like this. I've never worn a dress like this. I've never shot in a jet airplane. I've never had planes flying over me on a photo shoot. I've never had video like this.
I've never been inside a Bugatti or McLaren.
I'm saying, when they see this, I'm expecting them to say, oh my God, how can I get there? I only receive that reaction maybe 2% of the time. So I'm to the point right now where I'm not really even wanting to correspond with a lot of women over Facebook because, they're in this belief, well, why is he talking to me? What does he say? I must have it. It must be true that I have it. How come he's not calling me back? What's wrong? What did I do wrong? for us, if you want something, it goes all the way back to that attitude of agencies way back, still to this day, 18 to 24. These people are moldable. They're willing to go to work. They're willing to do what it takes. And that weighs a lot more than your looks in this industry. You have to be able to get up and go to work. And if you are taking your boyfriend to a shoot with you, there's two different groups, in my opinion. Then there's that third group. That third group is the woman who goes out and does a lot of nude pictures. So therefore, she has a lot of jealousy and she's had a lot of bad experiences in there. And then they put me in that category that they need to be protected because there's a lot of crazy photographers out there. I can care less what your body looks like. I can care less about what your boyfriend thinks. I go to work. If you are going to bring your boyfriend to work, even ask me to bring your boyfriend to work, I'm done. Because I already know you're in a bad relationship, in a bad place emotionally, because you can't make your own decisions. Oh, sorry. Calm down. But that's it. But anyway, but if anybody wants to shoot Velma, I'm coming. You know what? I feel sorry for the individual who tries to do something wrong with you. But I'll help me with some bail money, guys. But wrapping up, we cover two different areas: the model side and the woman who just wants to have a good time and come out with 5 or 6 girlfriends, or the woman who really wants to create a business. And we put art on our clothes, just like you see here. This is Sturgis. That's actually Velma on the front of there. And this bike is the Joker, or the clown bike. Her name is on here. Velma's on me too, But so we create these devices, these billboards here, walking billboards, because Velma's a model. She's portraying what she does. She's living her goals. She is a model and she's modeling her clothes. No one else's, her clothes. She's selling her clothes. She's selling my photography. And that's what modeling is about.
And other people's photography. I market for other people.
Absolutely.
I can put your brand, your logo on my leg and walk into an airport or into a place that normally you cannot market at.
And a person will walk up to her and say, "Oh my God, are you on a famous race car team or whatever?" She shows her QR scan code on her on her arm. They put their phone up there. It goes to the website that we choose for this particular outfit. So she's branding herself, and it's working out quite well. So we're gonna have a lot more of these. We're gonna try to do this at least 2 or 3 times a week, maybe even more. With COVID out there now, we have to think of different ways to market. You have a lot of designers out there that are sitting around scratching their heads trying to figure out when this pandemic is going to be over and what they're going to do next. And we're doing it. The new thing out there right now is marketing yourself, getting out there, because fashion shows it's going to take some time for fashion shows to get back to full swing like they were. But, are you going to wait a year for that to happen? Possibly 2 years? I don't know. But I'm good. No, not on television. I'm going to cut that out, right? Thank you guys very much. And if you have any questions, Lithuanian_model.com.
Steampunk Chuck.
The King
Look
of
him
Steam
up.
On Instagram, on Facebook, The King of Steam, and on
Leggingwraps.com.
Okay, thanks a lot, ladies and gentlemen, and reach out to us, ask questions, and we will give you answers, time permitting. Thanks a lot.